Chuma Mdeuka bafunde sikhule sakuhlala sikhule sizwe ngolwazi noChuma Mdeuka Unmasking usivi Unvukani
Since by 16 go kui lanes in be yaka 10 o'clock. We are on the third segment of the show. Eza madota. Singula naike Luxolo Mvandala from Unmasking Men's Emotions. Namhlanje sijonga ngakasana ke immense mental health pake eza madota. Wethu khona ke na ke Simbambe in our Queenstown studios. Mhlakazi, good morning and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Buti. Diabolisa kubaphulaphula ekhaya naku station management.
Inkosi kakhulu. Namhlanje bhuti wami sincokola about immense mental health. Ndiyafuna siyiqale apha incoko yethu. Ingaba mhlawumbi zeziphi i-common mental health challenges ezithi zifacwe ngabantu abangootata?
Thank you so much, Buti. I think umcimbi women's mental health, it's a silent pandemic. It's something that ilizwe lethu or society yethu engayiniki ingqwalaselo. Because attention ixesha eninzi idla ngonikiswa kwezinye izinto, but not to look at the men's mental health or the boy child, because men are believed to be masculine and strong, so they could take whatever that comes to them as challenges obomi. And also enye yezinto eyenza okokuba amadoda face men's mental health is the expectations according to gender. So men are expected to be strong and boy child. Men are classified or boxed in a certain way in society because of traditional gender roles and societal cultural norms ezikhoyo. Ezo zinto ke xa indoda ingakwazi ukuzifeza, indoda become depressed, indoda ichaphazelwa mental health. Umzekelo, when you are a man, you have many social identities. You are an uncle, you are a father, and you need to provide. So when you are boxed like that and you can't provide as a man, it leads to a mental health.
I want us to talk about stigma. If I was a provider based on ezi zinto zi-under wena as umntu oyindoda, and then ifike i-mental health ikuhithishe. Kuthiwa ke wena Luxolo, kukho istigma esenza into yobana amadoda angakwazi ukuphuma apha kobo bugqwayiba be-mental health bahambe bayokhangela uncedo. Why is that?
Well, as I said previously, about there is this box that you need to tick as that will qualify you as a man. You are expected to provide as a man, but if you cannot provide, it then leads to a mental health. Like umzekelo, there is a trend that is trending goku eti indoda must. So you can imagine if you are that man that can provide, then are you still the man? And in many cases, good relationships is ninzi. Amadoda amaninzi aziva engabalekanga because they're expected to provide, but if they cannot provide, then they will be classified as amadoda that are failing. Secondly, because men are expected to be strong and emotions abo bangazivezi, men resort to suicide. As we're speaking goku, on the 19th of November, it's an International Men's Day, whereby the actual state will be given by psychologists as it has amadoda are facing a silent pandemic. Daily, I consult clients and consult ebusuku amadoda afuna uzibulala. So you can imagine. So my organization is Unmasking Men's Emotions. We detect these issues that affects men. Because remember, we are expected to be strong and not show emotions. So if you don't show emotions, what will you resort to do? Because men are not allowed to cry. So ingxaki mhlekazi wami esijongene nayo elizwe elingafuneka linike ingqwalasela because amadoda are going through the most and there is no safe space for men to cry.
Look, redefine njani le masculinity your indoda must to promote a better mental health for abantu abangotata nje siyi society thina.
I think the first thing we need to do, we need to sikhupha amadoda kule box siwafake kuyo. It's the first thing, because that box gives
Yes.
ifaki pressure emadodeni, let alone get to the boy child, because the boy child as well ikhula wired and fibered to believe in oba. It's like we owe the world something as men, and if you can't provide what we owe the world, then we're not men enough. Secondly, the expectations. We need to let go of those expectations. Women and our families need to understand that we can't exact expectations to certain gender because of cultural norms. Because once we can do that, we can have a way of decreasing immense mental health. Also, sizame ke nokuphungula inani labantu abathatha ubomi babo. It's sad because also women now are taking their lives because amadoda bawathanda for image. Then if that image does not ayinikisi le nto beyi-expectile kulux akanamali, lux akananix, but lux looks clean. So that woman becomes depressed because ayiyongo le nto beye-expectile. So ezo zinto zinjalo, we need to remove the expectations from men and expectations from boys. Neli gama ke lithi indoda ayikhali, because we exact that also nakwi-boy child. Abantwana ke bakhula bengakwazi coexista with another gender, which is females, because you're expected to be strong and not show emotions. You are not expected to be vulnerable as a man. So if you can create a safe space for men to cry and acknowledge how they feel, then I believe we can have a better society.
Who is responsible to create a safe space for abantu abangamadoda? Why I'm asking this question? Because before siphume ngaphandle sijonge ilizwe into yobana limbuka kanjani umuntu ongutata, but amadoda wona ayayenza i-safe space for wona ukubana regardless of aba bangaphandle, because it's very much important to make sure into yobana before you blame umuntu ongaphandle, wena wenza ntoni to make sure that you are protected. I'm very much wondering into yobana, do you guys as amadoda have these conversations into yobana if it's okay not to have imali, and if awunamali take a back seat, but akho nto irongo ngawe. So question yam iza kule nto yobana ngubani lo urresponsible into yobana maka create a safe space for umuntu oyindoda before iphume iye ngapha ngaphandle.
Thank you so much, but
I'm
I
not sure if you get
think
my question.
first and foremost, idla ngokuthi ke into yesiXhosa yonke into iqala ekhaya. Unfortunately, in South Africa, most of us are growing up from dysfunctional families. Sikhuliswe ngomama, single parents. So that needs to start at home. A father must create a safe space for his son, for his boy child, before ayofumana validation from outside. Unfortunately, I took a stance in 2019 during the surge of COVID-19, during the surge of gender-based violence, because men were busy classified as perpetrators of gender-based violence, but we're not looking at the psychological issues or psychological causes of us being perpetrators of gender-based violence. So I think society ngokwayo ne-families kufuneka kuqala phaa endlini. Xa uziva ungakho kumnandi kuwe, your father, your uncle, your brother needs to create that safe space for you before you go outside. Why am I saying that? Because ngosikhulayo singabantwana, ubuthi ngokubuyayo usopha ubethiwe kuthiwe go and fight. You are a man. And at that time, you're already given that impression that you need to take the punches because you're a man. However, you're not given a platform to cry and be vulnerable. So it's need to start at home. But I also want to say this. A church was supposed to be a place of solace for many people. But even the church is not creating a safe space for men.
Sure.
So Unmasking Men's Emotion stood up in 2019 and said, let's create this safe space for men. That is what we're trying to do. But it needs to start at home. You know, it needs to be passed on at home so that when you go outside, you are already capacitated and affirmed by your father. But it's sad we are growing up from dysfunctional families. The father figure is not there. And sadly, because we go outside of our homes and look for father figures who are also absent fathers and absent emotionally to their sons at home. So it needs to start at home. I hope to print
You did. I have a follow-up question based on what you have just said. Uthi ekhaya kukho lo mntana uyinkwenkwe apha ekhaya ukhulayo. So father figure iyafuneka. It goes back to a question yobana my question ebendibuzile into yobana before siphume phandle, are you guys creating a safe space for yourselves as amadoda? Niyancokola na ningamadoda and talk about these things. It's 2024. And then uzawufumanisa into yobana still kusekho umzukisi osabaleka ukondla umntana wakhe, osabaleka ukuba yiphathi yobomi bomntana bakhe. Yet kwelinye icala sithi thina singalamadoda vulnerable akwakusithiwa xa kudala xa ekhula uthi xa ulwile phaa estratweni kuthiwe phinda uyolwa awuzokoyiswa ngusandile because uyinkwenkwe into oyiyo. So wenziwa indoda at that particular time. But we don't want that for our boy child at this particular moment. But still kusekho amadoda wona ase against into ezinjalo. And also, ndifuna ukuya kwiphathi ethi in cases where kungekho umuntu ongutata apha ekhaya. So, do you think into yobana oomama abakwazi ukudlala la father figure bakhulise abantwana abazaba ngamadoda angazoba nobudlobongela, angazoba ne-mental health, azoba ngamadoda la siwafunayo as a society?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chuma. I will be honest with you. Women have been playing that role for a long time. They've been playing that role, being a father and a mother, for a long time. Singakanje. I grew up without the father.
Sure.
But I'm a version of a better man because ndikhuliswa ngumama who taught me values and principles and things that ezilindelekileyo kum as a man. But however, I've been longing for a father figure. I've got all those things, but you need a sense of belonging as a boy or as a man. Who are you? Some of, I think, ukula kwam, I even suffered from an identity crisis. Ndingubani. So at some point, umama ngayidlala laa ndima, it's fine, but umntana oyindoda ezibekhula uyalonga for that father figure. Secondly, do men have these conversations? I'll be honest with you. When men are intoxicated, they feel safe to speak about their issues. And it's sad because you cannot go around and be at places where men need to get intoxicated before they come out about their emotions and the issues they are facing. Amadoda, they need to be taught into yoba likhona icala eli-vulnerable ngaphandle kobumasculinity babo. You see, mhlawumbi uLux ubonakala emasculine, but behind his masculinity, he is vulnerable. That is why ke sigowa ixesha elide kugqitha females, because thina i-emotions zigcina phi ngaphakathi, and women express their emotions, and after that ubomi buyaqhubekeka. But thina emotions ziba ngaphakathi. So imbizo and men seminars, these are the things that needs to take place. But the government is not funding anything that is men empowerment, that is boy child empowerment. The government is not funding those things. You can imagine since 2019, I have been knocking in different doors trying to get funding, because I believe when we can have indaba, men's indaba, men imbizo, ezo zinto zingasinceda as men to come out and talk. But we need to be very sensitive, because amanye amadoda needs to be at a safe space by using their substances like utywala or drugs, so they could be able to speak. But that safe space is not easy because it needs to be conducive. That means it needs to adhere to umcimbi confidentiality, because ezinye izinto amadoda azincokolayo zizinto, once unincokole, you need to make a referral ukuze umuntu ancedakale by a psychologist or by a psychiatrist. So ndifuna ukuthi ke izincoko zikhona, but sineed inkxaso for this conversation to expand and to reach 3 places that are marginalized.
Ndiyafuna ke ngoku sibuyele back to this siyibethelele. Inoba yintoni epreventa amadoda from seeking help when they are suffering from mental health?
I think I'll also echo this because I mentioned it before. Amadoda oyika ukubona as weak by society, because kaloku ukhumbule there is that thing ke bakhule beyixelela uba indoda ayikhali. So kunzima kubo to reach out and bafumane uncedo because boyika ujajwa baba weak, boyikwa ukubonwa njengabantu aba-vulnerable by their female counterparts and also by society. And ke ngoku apha ibuhlungu khona is that they resort kumcimbi wokuzibulala uthatha ubomi babo. Abanye they resort into uba umntu azi-isolate because ofuna le ngxaki but akayazi how to reach out. Even police stations have a big effect on this. Amadoda that are being abused daily abakwazi ukuya police station because kufika kuhlekiswe ngawo. So imagine bazawufikela bazawukwazi njani ureach out kuqale by indawo ekufakwa uba isafe for bona xa uripota ukubethwa kwakho by ibhinqa, because once you respond you are going to be apprehended ubanjwe because you are a gender-based perpetrator. So there is no safe space from even amapolisa because kwalapho uba amadoda angakwazi ukufikelela, which means ikhona ingxaki. And the laws that have been passed now, I believe they are punishing men a lot. So I think nje mhlobam, we need to just make sure into yokokuba nezi ndawo siripota kuzo makungabikho nzima ukufikelela kuzo. Lastly, even so referring client to a public hospital, the appointment just to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist can take a year or 2 years if akana medical aid. Already kulo nyaka somntu somonakalo sowenzekile, abanye unfortunately passed on because they took their lives. So zezinye zengxaki ezikhoyo ezo.
Nazi liqola ingxaki siyazibeka. Urhulumente akazifandi iimbizo zamadoda so that zikwazi into yobana ziqhubeleke zikwazi ukunceda amanye amadoda. And amadoda asafumana ubunzima kwiindawo ezithile ukwazi ubana afumane uncedo, ne? So what do we do for the time being ngoku sisalindile, silinde into esingayaziyo? Because umonakalo wona uyaqhubeka and siyawubona umonakalo, nanku umonakalo usenzeka. Sizama njani ukuwanqanda amanzi into yobana in as much as ba engena endlini but makangade asongamele?
Thank you so much. There is a song that was sang by, I believe it's Loyeso Eti Madoda Sabelani, but it was relating to the issue of gender-based violence. And I think also that song is quite relevant for our discussion. That amadoda mawasabele because we are dying. Secondly, society mayingenelele and create space, incedise izindawo create space while sisalinde uncedwa government. Society and families must take their position. Icawe must take their position, not only to discuss about the issue of spirituality, but look at a man holistically. Because amadoda amaninzi are hiding a church. They are hiding a church, but if you can unmask them, you'll find okokuba some of them are being bullied as well at church. So I'm saying it calls upon us to sidibane and try to work out umcimbi while silinde ukuncedwa government. But asikwazi ukulinda. If I can tell you the stats currently, some amadoda that are having mental illness, you will be shocked. And it's iyanyuka ngosuku. So while silindile, masibe sisebenzisa into esinayo. Umzekelo ohlobo, this is a word of voice. We're reaching out to men. So we are opening up as platforms, as NPOs, to call upon also the women empowerment sector, if you can come together, because women as well, banalo igalelo ukucinezela umcimbi men's mental health. So if zingadibana kuboniswana, I'm sure we could work something out.
Kukho indoda emameleyo at this particular moment, Lux, and she's suffering from mental health. Mhlawumbi uyafuna reach out to you guys from Unmasking Men's Emotions. Banganifumana njani?
Okwalomzuzu, we just sisandofumana office, and because we are based in Whitley, we just got an office in Whitley. I think it's Enoch Mkijima Chuza Clinic. We just had an office there, but asika setlishi kuyo, but virtually or through a phone call. I'm gonna leave my number. My number is 060 657 1434. 060 657 1434. Then my email address, it's luxolo.unmask.co.za gmail.com. However, there is another professional and sebenzana nayo Ms. Gqoboka, who have a practice yakhe which is private, that is based up in Queenstown, and Mr. Poto. So I think angareach out kum and then singabonisana basingenza njani through the phone lo mzuzu sizezama usetlisha office, because we also want to expand and have an office in Queenstown so that abantu bakwazi ufikelela kwi-service sethu, but we are still out of resources at the moment.
Right, Bujam, siyabulela ngexesha lakho Benny
Kakhulu,
Mnimati.
nam ndiyabulela.
Right, that was Luxolo Mvandala from Unmasking Men's Emotions. Namhlanje besincokola phansi ke kwesihloko esijonga i-men's health, men's mental health. Imizuzu masenze beyi-23 phambi ko-11.